Yeah, that's what you're gonna do. We're gonna wait for everybody to get in here, see what everybody is doing this Saturday morning. Let's go out here and see. Okay, I see Sally coming in here. Okay. There we go. Here you come.
Great new day, great new day.
There we are. I'm like, where is everyone?
Yes, yes. My buddy is going to be a little late. She's out with the
Who's
son
your
this morning.
buddy?
Had to take him.
Who's your buddy?
Miss Legault.
Oh, okay. And then I don't know, Orlando, if you heard from Teresa, but they're having flooding and rain in Puerto Rico. So she's not sure if she's going to be able to get on or not. So that's
Okay.
okay. We'll work with each other. We are recording, so that'll be what we'll do today. We'll make sure that we get our work done. Okay.
Absolutely.
Very cool. All right. So let's see if we can get this party started. I want to start
Lord,
off.
Lord, I'll be right back. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay.
I want to start off. Alanda, do you? Okay. Well, of course, I want to start off with our breathing. I was trying to see if how long she was going to be gone so that we could wait for her. But what I will do, because I realized that in the last class, I did not really introduce myself and let people know who they were working with, and sometimes that's important. So I will do that now, just for people who have to follow up later. So my name is Shemsu-t, and I think I gave my name, but I have been teaching adults or working and coaching and counseling adults since I was 23. I worked as a minority affairs advisor at Westmar College. So that's when I realized I had, and I was sharing with Sylvia in our group yesterday, that I had a gift for listening and making a difference for other people. So I'm grateful for that. And I actually started Master Force, the work that we do here, back in 1988. And I started it for my son, who was then 10 years old. I wanted to teach him spirituality without having to go through the traditional church methodology of Christianity and accepting Jesus Christ as your savior and all of that. And so I started meeting with a group of young men in my home on Wednesday evenings. And I also met with the parents started coming because girls wanted to come. And of course, the mother and father's like, well, my daughter's going to be at your house with a bunch of boys. We coming. So the parents started coming. And we did that for about 3 years in Schaumburg, Illinois, because we have a lot of suburbs around us, but most of us were separated from one another. We had this nucleus of family in one community and then another. So it was really great. And we didn't know what impact we were making on these young men until many years later. And they came back, and I had moved to Chicago by that time. And they told me, they said, Miss Stewart, you should really start a school because we want to teach our children what you taught us. And I spent a year, because listen, when I was working with them, I wasn't writing anything down. I was downloading as we go. And so I sat down for an entire year and wrote the curriculum, having to meditate and remember everything. So that was really very exciting that when I look at it, the universe really supported that movement because I didn't work for that year while I downloaded this, but I still ate and I was covered. So that's what I was present to right now. And then later, back in, I want to say 2010, my spirit said, you have to duplicate yourself. You have to get this information to other people so that they can get it out to young people and their families, right? Oh, and really quick. So I also learned how to coach. I was an IT consultant for Motorola. And when I was about 28, 29, and they sent me to coaching school. Can you believe that, right? They literally sent me to coaching school because I was a manager and that's what they did, right? And I kept thinking, oh my God, my community needs this information. And that's funny because every time I learned something, all I could think about was my community needs this information, and I'm grateful for that. But anyway, so I started coaching around that time, literally created my own coaching acumen because they weren't doing life coaching. So in 2010, when my spirit said, recreate yourself, I was like, well, how do you do that? And he said, certified life coaches. So here I am with this curriculum that I had created, and I was working with the University of Chicago charter schools. I was doing a lot of the MARF technique with those schools, and I took a group of kids to Egypt. I mean, just really using the work, but didn't really know what it meant to put it out in community. So I started a coaching school, and now we have certified close to or over 500 life coaches worldwide. So for me, that's exciting because while I was doing that work, I wasn't counting, I wasn't trying to see who saw me. It really was inside of following spirit. So who you see in this class is mostly Master Force certified life coaches. They spent 16 weeks with myself and their mentor and their buddy, getting the work and doing the work. So a lot of what you hear is an emphasis of what they learned, but you'll still get the depth of it. You'll still see, but I just wanted to share that. Ooh, I got through that. Thank you. Alanda, I did that because I didn't know how long you were gonna be so that we could breathe, right?
Thank you. Thank you. I had two cats sitting up looking at me like, what you doing? Like, you ain't feed me this morning. What you doing?
Don't you sit your butt there and act like we know.
Right. I'm sitting there, they both looking at me like.
Very cool.
Yeah.
So last week we did breathing, and we kind of replicated what Yashir Rahatep taught you, but the difference was that we breathe in and out of our nose. This week we're going to breathe what we call nadi shuti breathing. That's alternate nostril breathing. Okay, and I will place a video in our group afterwards so that you can have some practice with it. But the reason that nadi shuti is so very cool is because it actually does, it soothes your nervous system, right? It brings your nervous system into balance, and it works with the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. So it really helps to calm you down. It helps to prepare you for sleep. It helps to relax you when you're in a state of upset. So, you know, each week I want to do a different breathing series with you so that you can realize you need a different type of breathing depending on the situation you're dealing with, right? You can deep breathe all you want to, but sometimes you have to do other type of breathing, right? But all of it entails in the belly, okay? So for today, I'm going to get a little bit, I have lavender oil. Now you don't have to do this, but if you have lavender, that's fine. But I'm gonna just put a little drop of lavender oil, just one little drop in my hand. And now here's what's cool. If I was doing, if I needed to energize myself, I would use peppermint oil or eucalyptus oil. But because I'm relaxing myself, I'm using lavender oil. And here's what's really crazy about that, why I know it works, because I had a home birth when I was 37 years old and gave birth to an 8-pound, 8-ounce boy only using lavender oil. And of course, my midwives and my best girlfriends were there too. All right. So the position is like this, right? You take your thumb and you close your nostril off. And then you take your little finger and your index finger and you close that other nostril, right? And you rest your hand here. So I'm going to show you the process. So you breathe in through that other nostril, breathing in, closing, and we're holding. And then we're removing the other side and exhaling. So we're breathing in from the same side, closing, and then we're exhaling from the other side. Okay, you see that? Now, of course, if you have to blow your nose and all that, do that, right? But we're gonna do 5 breaths like that, okay? And any question on that? Did everybody get that process? Any questions? Okay, all right, let's go. So we're closing off our nostril and we're breathing in and we're holding our breath, closing, 2, 3, 4, open and exhale. And you're pushing in the stomach like we did before, right? Then we're breathing in. And we're closing, 2, 3, 4. Exhale as you open. Very good. Pushing in. Inhale. And close, 2, 3, 4. Exhale. Relax, drop your shoulders. Very good. Breathe in. Close off. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. Pushing in. Breathe in. Close off. Exhale. Relaxing. This is the last one. Breathe in. Close off. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. And now just relax. We're just gonna scan our body, just scan. It's always important to scan your body so that you can release any tension and you can tell where you have anxiety. You can tell where you're not really rested. And it also gets you present to your body. And then again, we're going to start with our feet and we're going to bring in the energy of Mother Earth, bringing it up into our feet, bringing that energy up into our legs, and we're relaxing as we go. We're relaxing at our knees, releasing any tension, relaxing our thighs, our pelvic, and any place you see tension, just say to your body, relax. Your body will listen to you. You're relaxing that abdomen, staying in your breath, relaxing our chest, our arms, fingers, feel that relaxing going up into your neck, the front of your neck, the back of your neck. Allow the energy to go up into your face. Relax your jaw. Relax behind your ear. Energy is going up into your forehead, relaxing. Relax your scalp. And as we get to our crown chakra and we're relaxing, we're going to imagine that it's an opening there for white light to just pour into us. We're imagining this white light coming in, And we're connecting to the cosmos, the energy of the supreme creator of our bodies. And we're having that energy come in to our body, through our head, down through our face, down, all the way down through our neck, our shoulders, relaxing, allowing this white light to pour into us, our arms, our hands, our chest, coming in and inspiring every cell in our body, going all the way through to our abdomen, our pelvic energy is filled with so much healing and nurturing energy. We're going into our thighs, into our knees. Sometimes a lot of tension can store in our knees, so allow that white light to move that energy, move it into our calves, our ankles, our feet. We're relaxing and feeling that energy going back into Mother Earth. Now we're filled with both the mother and the father, the yin and the yang energy. Now, as you breathe, I want you to come up into focus in your heart chakra that's in the middle of your chest. And I want you to imagine that you can send this light out from your heart. And you're sending this light out to the people in your surrounding environment, in your family, in your community. Just imagine that white light of love and peace and joy can flow from you. This is what we mean by sending love and light. You just send that energy out to them, and you surround yourself with this very energy for your own enhancement and protection. And you're breathing and you're relaxing in the light. And you will carry this with you all day. And you will reactivate it as often as you would like. We're staying in our breath. And now we're going to begin to come back to this class, come back to this lesson, and get to work. And we're breathing and we're remembering who we are. Thank you. Come back to this side. Rub yourself, clap your hands, do whatever you need to do to wake up. Yay! Yay! You know, sometimes I have to remember you are teaching a class. You are not going to sleep. You are not going in to download. You're here with the people. Very good. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So we have a couple of more people joining us. And I'm going to go through the agenda today. Everyone remembers the ground rules. Let me see. Do we have any new people joining us today? Let us see. Is anyone new here? I don't think so. Okay, so we don't have to worry about that part of the agenda then. All right, so we will go on into our follow-up with our homework. And we're just going to spend a little time on this because we have a lot to do. Today's work is going to be about the tools that we use. So I want to just follow up with you about your self-love task. I want to hear how you did with that. So anyone who would like to share about either the sacred spaces they created, the conversations they had with their buddy, your journal work, or your altars, any of that. And remember, I want you to be very brief. I want you to be briefer than 2 minutes, okay? But raise your hand. Remember, there's reaction down at the bottom. You click on reaction and click raise your hand, okay? So who would like to share about their self-love task from last week? Anybody? Hello? Y'all gonna leave me out here by myself? So, okay, let's say this. Did anybody do the work? Sally, you did? Okay, would you like to share?
Yes.
Okay.
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 I'm
Go
sorry.
ahead.
I'm sorry. I can't. I don't know. Is it me?
It's you, Sally. Mhm.
Okay. I finished reading my book, the Brian Weiss. Is that his name?
Oh
Did
yeah.
you?
Yes.
Did you love
Gosh.
that? Oh my God.
Yes. It was
Jesus.
so good. I finished that one and then I started the second book this morning. So I'm happy about that. And for my altar, I already had one created and I added an angel to represent the death doula. I wanted a little skull, but I couldn't find one. Well, it was expensive, very
Yeah,
expensive.
but you don't need a skull though. That's a different methodology.
Oh, okay. I thought it was, yeah, they were real
I
fancy.
know,
And I'm
but
like,
it's a
that's
different depth of
expensive.
mind. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I got a little angel to add to my altar.
Mhm.
And I talked to my partner just through text. I haven't had a full conversation. I guess we'll have that. It's Brandy. And actually I did everything I was supposed to. I'm really proud of myself.
I thought Brandy was gonna be here today. Do you know what happened?
Right.
with
I
her?
don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Okay. Okay, cool. So I'll follow back up with her. Yay!
Okay.
That was free.
Yay.
That was
Yeah,
free.
I feel really good. And I love these breathing techniques. Off
Oh,
topic, but I love the
wonderful.
breathing. Okay. I'm learning.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Go ahead, Keisha, Nikki, Morgan.
Hey y'all, Grand Rising.
Yay.
I feel so much better today, sidebar. Watch. Bam, gave it all to y'all.
Okay.
I did talk to my buddy. She shared the book with me. I love my buddy. She's something else,
Who's
child.
your buddy?
Mecca.
Oh, yes, Mecca. Mecca's not here today
Yeah.
because he has a client. Mhm.
We both yield to 3, but 3 was taken. So we both selected 7 for the same purpose. So that was a blessing. Our conversation was longer than 30 minutes. Like I said, she did share the reading of the book. She actually purchased both of them. I have not.
Okay.
And that was good. It was all good. Gravy.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you for sharing. Okay. Anyone else who would like to share before we move on? Because I'm going to move quickly. If those two represent the work that you're doing, that's fine. Okay. All right. Now,
We got a hand raised.
who? You got your hand? You have your hand raised, Landy?
I'm not the only one.
Oh, wait a
actually
minute.
raised
Okay,
my
let me
hand
see.
first for a change this week because you
Okay,
told me
okay, wait, there you go. Okay, go ahead. Sylvia was like, I was like, Sylvia, you gotta raise your hands. She's like, well, you gotta look at her sister too. I'm
I
sorry.
just wanted to
Thank
share
you, Landy. Come on, Sylvia.
I just want to share a little bit about the altar. I was sharing with my buddy that like I should have did it like sooner than waiting till later in the week. Just because questions came up and then creating my altar. I don't think I was necessarily emotional, but just questions came up about for me, why wasn't my relationship closer with my grandparents or have more memories like others? Because I wanted something there to represent them. And then it's like, oh, wait, what picture do I want? And I just feel like I should have had more, or I could have, I keep correcting myself, could have had, because
Yeah.
what happened for a reason, and the way that it was done in divine order. But I could have had more memories with them. But that's what working on my altar this week brought out for me is like, I want to research that a little bit more as to why I feel like our family wasn't as close as it could have been.
Wonderful. And what great research that's going to yield because our grandparents just want to talk to us. Very cool. Thank you. Okay, my niece, what you got for us? There you go. Stop. I'm unmuting you.
Oh,
So
there we go. Okay, sorry. Okay. You had us over here like my cat's doing. Like, what are you doing? So it's been interesting this week. It seems that as soon as I got phone with you, I started getting messages for somebody else. Actually, was trying to get my attention while I was talking, while we was on here. But this week has really been me observing people
Yes.
looking at them
Yeah.
and having a space for them, because there's some things that happened on Monday, and it really made me go in and look and not because I didn't internalize it, but I can see stages of anger, right? So this one particular person, this whatever, I was just looking at it, and she's the one that I had the message for, and I'm like, yep. This is why I had to give you these messages, because you got work to do. And I wasn't looking at it like I was judging her. I was looking at it like
You
you
have
want to
work to
do
do.
you got work to do. And
Mhm.
it really dawned on me this morning as I'm walking the dog, and I thought about it. I'm like, people that really want to be in the space I'm in, you're gonna have to do work. And I totally get when you used to, everybody you interact with, you do the destiny cards, you engaging, you reading them. And so you have to be very selective in the work you're doing, because if you truly want to do the work, you could do the outside work, you could be very intelligent, got all the credentials, but you gonna have to really do work if you're gonna be in my space, because I realized how angry I used to be, and
Mhm.
seeing it from other people, I'm like, oh no, I don't want to be like that. What's wrong with you? That kind of thing. So
Yeah.
that's why I got this, I started really paying attention to people.
That's really great. I love that. We're gonna, you know what? I'm gonna probably create a off session from us, off from class, so we can just maybe debrief on some stuff that's not in the class, right? I'm gonna do that because, and we'll do the after this class, after we do the 4 sessions, we're gonna keep the group so that we can keep in touch with each other and support each other and help each other build their practice. Okay, so that's kind of like a freebie with the class, right? We'll just stay in communication. Okay. All right, Mama Marlene, come on. You there?
Great day, yeah.
Okay.
Um,
Hey,
um,
lovely.
hey, y'all. Well, uh, I didn't expect when you told me to delve into um the situation about my father's death. Well, I was so surprised because when I did do that and I thought about it, Howard, my daddy's partner, had a son named Channy. Okay, Channy
Mhm.
was fine. All right. So what it connected to was when I was like, gotta be nine, about 9. And I remember being in my room because we lived upstairs. They lived downstairs because they owned the building, right? And I was upstairs in my room, and I remember laying down on my bed and the dress that I had on, everything. And I remember Channy feeling on me. So, but it wasn't nothing intrusive or anything like that, right? But so when that led me to other things that I hadn't been. Basically, it was an escape of every time I almost got raped. It was the times that I didn't escape. And then I talked to my cousin, who is my only family member living, that like knew when I was a kid and all that. So I started because I was like, I know a lot of people in my family died. I know I had to go to the funeral before my daddy, right? But then I talked to my cousin, and she told me, she said, your mama would not allow you to go to funerals. So you went to nobody's funeral. And
Wow.
my favorite auntie, who was her older sister, I asked her, did she know Aunt Bessie? Like, did I go to Aunt Bessie's funeral? She said, no. She said, and you died. Aunt Bessie died while she was taking care of you because she was my babysitter. And she died from cirrhosis. And she died while she was taking care of me. But I was just like, I didn't go to your mama's funeral. I didn't go to nobody's funeral. She said, no. She said, your mama wouldn't let you go. So I
And
was like, wow.
yeah, I really want to acknowledge you, Marlene, because um, as people get older, they tend to think, oh, I've lived my life. I don't have nothing else to learn. I done did this and did that. And I know you did a lot of work. I know that. So to accept my challenge, to look at that takes courage. And I would
Yeah.
just want to acknowledge you for being courageous, because you get to release so much of that, but you also get to remember those things that made you who you are. We don't want to forget those things, because a lot of times we have not integrated those lessons because
Right.
we
Well,
pretended like they weren't there. You see that?
right. Well, that's what I'm saying. You know, like a lot of stuff that came up are things I haven't thought about in centuries. I
Yeah.
mean, like, oh my God. And then doing this, because you know, death is something that I look at being senior now. You know what I'm saying? Just I don't expect it. I'll be here to like 120. That's what I see it.
Come on,
But
35.
the,
Okay.
yeah, but the thing of it is that I didn't really, I haven't taken the time to like really reflect on all this stuff, because I've been through a lot. Like I know everybody has, but I've been through like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
So when I looked at all of that, I was like, wow. And the fact that it triggered all of the stuff that I haven't really paid attention to, because a lot of stuff was blocked, because a lot of stuff hurt me in my life, you know, hurt me a lot.
So we're gonna that's a good transition into our next conversation. Thanks, Mama Marlene. So and again, you can see why we need to have off conversations, because
Yeah.
really some people are still dealing with death as grief.
Yeah.
And we want to actually work with people to not be in the grieving stage, but in the releasing stage.
Right.
Which is different, because when you can release, you open space. So our next topic is, what does it mean to hold space for another? And the reason I wanted you to do the work of writing in your journals and that, so you can see your triggers. Because if you're working with someone and you're not aware of the things that cause you issue, guess what's going to happen? You'll probably sit up there and they're mention about, their sister that died. And then all of a sudden they're starting to have memories about their sister, and their grief comes up. So can you take care of that person? No. You can't take care of that person, because you're trying to suppress what you feel. You're trying to hide what you're feeling. You see? So you want to keep revealing to yourself those things that are hidden. So when we're talking about holding space, we just did an exercise in our breathing. Okay? We just did that breathing exercise where you center the light in your chest. So anytime you're preparing to go and work with clients, whether it's with them individually or with their family, or even if you're working with people from the other side, you make sure that you download white light for your divine protection. Does that make sense, guys? You want to make sure that you have your own energy in place, but you have to be clear. You have to make sure that you're clear. So continue to do this work to keep yourself, really being present to what your triggers are and cleaning them up for yourself. And we'll do more about that. So any question about holding space? So it's just really being, we talked about in the class, being a mirror, right? Being a mirror, but being a mirror of greatness. So that means that you have already dealt with your stuff before you get in someone else's space.
I do have a question, because, or I don't even know if this is two-part statement and a question. I was talking to Mama Marlene about not being aware. You know what I'm saying? I believe, thinking that you have dealt with things, and that you have built or fortified yourself for something, and not really knowing when you go in and you're triggered and you don't even realize you walking la 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 and then all of a sudden it hits you after the fact. So are we going to talk about about that, or is that something offline?
But that's exactly why you do your journal work, right?
Okay. Okay.
So and let me see if let me give you an example of how I did that same thing. So my husband was killed when I was 25. And because I had 2 children at the time and I lived in Iowa away from my family, I literally went into survival mode, right? Like, but I called his mother and she was so mad at me because this was her oldest son. So she didn't even invite us to the funeral. She had his body taken, brought back to New Jersey where she was. And we haven't talked to that family since. So I had no idea about, dealing with releasing him or mourning or grieving or whatever. I just went on with my life. 25 years later, after my son and his wife had bought a house in Hyde Park, my son came to my house and he said, "Ma, I want you to come and live with us." And I'm like, "I don't know why I do that." He said, "Because you have a grandson." And I said, "See, they ain't even fair, So I did. I went and lived with them. And then his wife gonna say, "Well, you can't take none of your furniture." Like, what are y'all offering me here? But anyway, I love living in Hyde Park. And one day I'm walking down Garfield Boulevard, which I did on a regular basis. I'm walking down Garfield Boulevard and I hear my husband say, "You are an amazing mother. You have did a great job." Baby, when I tell you those tears started, I was like, and it just brought, and nobody's walking with me. I'm just walking down the street, have never heard his voice. Well, he visited me once immediately after he died. But this was the only time I heard, and I had to turn around and come back home. And when I walked in the door, my son said, "Ma, I'm here." And he could hear there was, something going on with me. And he came downstairs and I told him what happened. He said, "You want to know what's interesting?" He said, "Today I forgave the man that killed my father." He said, I had been preparing all these years to kill him." And when I tell you he had been preparing, this brother had to register his hands, right? And I was like, wow. And grief is held in your chest. It's held in your lungs. So when you release that type of energy, your whole figure changes. You literally let go, you open up, your breath becomes stronger. Your aura changes because you're not holding, you're not closed off, you're not trying to protect yourself.
So that's what the breathing exercises assist with.
Yes.
So now moving forward, before I speak with someone, I won't have that. The breathing helps you
but here's the thing, you may, even if you're triggered, you're staying in your breath, but what I want you to do is not discount it. You come back and you debrief and you journal. Okay. Remember, that's what debriefing and journal is about. Okay. You have to not pretend that it's not there. Don't pretend it's not there. Am I making sense? You don't want to pretend, because a lot of us have. I had this guy tell me this week, he said, "You know what?" He said, "I realized he's almost 60. He said, "I've never healed. I just kept going forward." And all of his trauma has built up. He can't have relationships with his daughters because he's mad at their mothers. You see? And so we have to allow ourselves to do that work. And it's painful. But it's also so much joy on the other side. It's so much joy, because when we cut ourselves off from that pain, we also cut ourselves off from that joy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wanted to just say I talked to my buddy, who's Dr. Tammy, and she was trying to get out of journaling. And I was like, I told her what was going on with me. And I was like, look, she said, so I got to go deeper. I'm like, yeah, you got to go deeper. You got to write that journal down. You got to do what you got to do. She's like, I've been doing work. I was like, yeah, me too. But just the stuff that triggered my brain happened 40, 50, almost, I don't even know now, 50 years ago.
Yep.
So, that's kind of like what's going on. It will trigger. I was so surprised. I just got to say, I was
So
really
surprised. It's surprising. I'm telling you, even so, a friend of mine died 3 weeks ago, and I had more of a trigger with her than I had with my sister dying, and I haven't even known this person 10 years. But the thing that triggered me about her death is that she was 60 and she had cancer and she didn't tell anybody. And all I could think of is, this me and my arrogant self, I could have helped her heal. I wanted to know so I could help her heal, not so I could do anything, but help her heal.
Yeah.
And then her children and her grandchildren had to suffer that early death. Okay. So this is why, and thank you, Marlene, and keep on, and Sally, you too, keep on Tammy to go deeper.
Yeah, because she tried, Sally, excuse me, I'm sorry. Yeah, Sally, she's trying to hold out. I just want to let you know so I have some help.
I understand. And let me just say this. Last year, me and Tammy had this conversation about journaling. I'm like, you have to do it. You have to get it out. You cannot hold on to this stuff. So I appreciate you. Yeah, we're gonna stay on her.
I love she.
I'm gonna do the double team. I love it.
Yeah, it's a double team.
She gonna work. Cause when I mentioned y'all grandmama, she sort of backed up like a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But I didn't let her go. So I got her, you got her. Okay, we can stop.
We got it.
I apologize.
Okay. I have a question about, I want to please. So is it, I'm like, why y'all talking about Tammy behind her back? I am like Tammy.
That's fine, but that's not we're gonna do that.
No. I'm just kidding. What I'm asking you is that I am like that too. I rather talk to Marlene or a mood or my sister, my person, rather than journaling it. I'd rather do the breathing than journaling it.
Well, here's what I want all of you freaking teachers and coaches to get. That's avoidance.
Yes.
You are acting superior to the work.
Because you know we know what happens. I had stopped coaching. I was running into with clients that rather talk to me than do the work. So they were paying me just to listen to them. And so this is what happens with therapy sessions and psychiatrists and psychologists. People pay them just so they can unload their stuff instead of doing the work, because they think
this is why therapy, that's right. They can charge them and they become security blankets. Right. And they don't care because you pay them for their lifestyle, but that's not the work we're doing.
No, and that's what I had to stop, because that's all they wanted to do. And then they were going to pay spiritual advisors to give them candles so they can burn candles and get rid of the stuff. And I'm like, I told you what you needed to do to get rid. What are you doing? Yeah. So journaling is it's not just therapeutic. It helps you get that stuff out of your system.
Has anybody ever read Conversations with God?
Yes.
All 3 books.
Okay, so dude, his whole life shifted when he took out that legal pad and started writing. And he had legal pad. He had like 150 legal pads by the time he wrote Conversations with. He wasn't even writing a book. He was getting his pain out. And a lot of times we don't want to look at our pain. You see your face, Keisha? You see your face? Yeah.
But does poetry count? No, I'm asking a question. Does poetry count?
No, it's not the same. Well, okay. It can count. Wait, no. It can count as therapeutic, but it doesn't count as journaling.
And
because I'm a poet too. I have written all of my pain and poetry. Let me tell you the difference. Right? The difference, because I thought the same thing. I started writing poetry at 14. I got poetry all over the place, and I still write, but not as much as I used to, right? But poetry is the creative side of that self-expression. What we want to get to, the deep part that we want to get to, is where we get the lesson. And in order to get the lesson, you have to get out of your head and what they say, go 6 inches down to your heart. In order to do that, you have to feel, right? And not just express it, but feel it.
And poetry is going to have you expressing it. I do it often. I express it and I'm getting it out. It's like talking to that therapist.
Yeah.
So when you take the moment and journal, you're not being strategic. You're not rhyming. You're not layering it any type of way. You're just releasing what you feel and what's happening. So it's all just able to openly release.
Okay.
Opposed to trying to be structured and together with the
but it's not that form for me. It just, I'm flowing in my writing. I guess it is expression. I would have to say it is indeed expression, but okay, y'all. I don't want to.
You gotta get
it's because the only reason I would say that, Keisha, is because you're resisting the journaling. You see that? If you weren't resisting journaling, it would be the same. But because you are resisting the journaling, it's not the same. Can you hear that?
I hear it. But can I ask one question though, Moo?
Another one?
No, it's.
No,
I want to hear what Alanda wanted to say because I couldn't hear her when everybody else was
come on, Landy.
Okay, so I was gonna say yes. I was gonna say yes, it is. However, writing, I guess after I journal, I write poetry. I write about it. So I go backwards. So I journal, and then I create a poem afterwards. I do both. That's what I want to say. I do both. I'm like, yeah, to me, it's kind of the same thing, but I journal and I get because that's the only way I can write, like really write my words. I have to actually feel it first. You know what I mean? So that's how I do it the other way. So I have to feel it. And then, so yeah, I'll think, it is, but I journal before I do that. So that's what I want to say.
Thanks, Keisha.
I'm sorry, guys. The same thing is true here. I would never journal. And as much trainings and all that, we had to write and do all that stuff. But journaling is so different from doing that because I love to write too, but I'm writing about other things. When you put that pen to your thoughts in that book, I mean, and tears start to flow because you really gone and get up in there where you've been afraid to go, and in the Bible says, write it down, make it plain, make it plain, make it plain.
I also want to say that I do want to say this. When I did write, I'm gonna tell you, because I wouldn't journal, I resisted. You know what I used to do when I was angry? I wrote stories and I killed people in my stories.
Yes,
I changed the name, but I killed them in my stories, and it made me feel better. But it really didn't make me feel better. But at that moment, it made me feel better. So I do want to say I'm creative, but that did not help until I started journaling. Like I can write all day long, but if I don't journal actual like what I'm feeling, it doesn't. Yeah, it helped at the time, but
well, let me just say, if you resist getting to that pain, it stores in your body. It's not going to go away. It's
like all that stuff we talked about. You need to write that down. Excuse me, Boo.
Yeah, you need to release. Miss Legault, were you going to say something?
No, I mean, I feel like I agree with everyone. In listening, I think I can see how I've resisted journaling. Even though I definitely agree, because journaling is not a practice that I've always had, but it is one that I've kind of started. And I do definitely see how it unearths certain things in a different way. Just writing it down and just kind of being open. I call it just downloading, where it's kind of like things, and certain, and when I write it down, I do get the lesson in a certain way. So it's interesting because it's causing me to think about why in this particular instance with this class, I'm resisting journaling.
That's very good, guys. I love, thank you. Thank you for insisting and pushing, and thank you so much, Keisha, for your questions, because you see that you have opened up everybody's resistance, okay? And that's a beautiful thing. But this is actually one of the tools that we use in our work. And you know, like it's like, if after you work with a client, we've taught you to do what? Debrief.
Yep. And so when you see those areas that you're resisting, it's kind of like that's where you need to focus.
That's where you need to focus.
Mm-hmm.
What were you gonna say, Landy? Were you gonna say something? Okay, guys. So are you ready to go to the anything else here? Keisha, did we get you? Did we get all your questions answered? Okay. Okay, great, guys. All right, let's move on to the next section. Now, what we're doing this week, we're talking about the tools that we use. The first tool that I have listed, and actually I have a printout that I will send to you. So what you will get at the end of this course, you will get the handouts from the slides, but you will also get the printout from the tools that we use, okay? So you can take notes, but I have written it up for you. So the first tool is pouring libation. Pouring libation, yes. Pouring libation means to take a plant, or if you have a backyard or something like that, and you take pure water, right? Not tap water. You want to get some spring water and put it in a bottle or glass, no plastic, right? And then what you do is you actually are recalling your ancestors. Now, today is my grandmother's birthday. So I'm going to acknowledge her, and I'm just acknowledging her. I'm welcoming her spirit into this conversation. I'm acknowledging her for the work that she did to take care of me. And I'm releasing that she didn't like me. I was getting ready to write that when I was journaling this morning. I was getting ready to say, even though she didn't like me. And they was like, you still talking like that? So I'm resisting saying, I'm not resisting, I'm releasing that. And then I'm going to say, bring an honor to my grandmother, Bertilla Hughes Spahn. May she continue to bless this family. And I'm going to say, Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. And I'm just pouring just a little bit. Tanisha, were you trying to say something?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. So, and just pour a little bit. You're not, see, just a couple of drops. And I actually, sometimes in my house, I have a libation plant for different people. Like I have a libation plant for my mom, my sister, my grandmother, my nephews, Kevin. So it kind of depends on how you want to use that. Now, when you're working with a client, you will find that a lot of clients, when they're passing on, you'll have to find out from them who is their closest relative that's on the other side, because that person is probably coming in to help them to transition. And you may want to pour libation with your client to that ancestor. Whatever ancestor you choose to work with you as a death doula, because you do have people that are with you who are making a difference and helping you, you may want to pour libation to them. Okay, does that make sense? Landy, did I trigger something for you?
I was just thinking, because I was talking to this person last week, and I was pretty much saying this to her, and she's like, well, why do you want to help me now? I'm like, girl, if you don't do this work, I am going to bring them over there at your house with you. They're not going to keep coming to see me, because by the time I got through getting this, talking to the brother, at this point, it was like 4 of her people were here telling me, I'm like, okay, what else? And I'm telling her. And so, yeah, that triggered me, because it's like, I'm going to have to get a whole lot of plants. I mean,
you can use one plant.
Well, I'm about to go to
You
the
can
park.
use one plant. You can use one plant. I was just saying that that's what I do. You don't have to use, but you don't want to drown the plant though. That's the difference.
Okay.
Yeah.
Can we so I have altar and I have liquor.
Yeah. As long
okay.
as it's a representation of something. Yeah. You
Yeah, it's
can
a representation of my they I got two of them. I know two of the relatives like
they're like liquor. Yeah. Liquor, listen, you find when you read Your Soul's Plan that alcoholism is a spiritual path. No judgment. So, some people come here knowing their purpose. Other people come here to live and learn, right? So they may not be purposeful in their living. And a lot of times when you're not purposeful in your living, you tend to go towards the more destructive side of your personality. And all of us have them. All of us. I fight my destructive side all the time, which is why I have to be so disciplined about, drinking and smoking and eating. There's just certain things I won't bring in my house because I know that I'm going to overdo it, so yeah, that's cool. All right. Okay. So the next one is meditation. Meditation. Even if you just sit for 15 minutes on a daily basis, just to really still and center yourself, this will make a huge difference in how you move energy. You will become more skilled at shifting energy when you have learned how to shift that energy within yourself, right? So meditation is one of the keys. And I will put some 10-15-minute meditations in the group because you don't have to sit for hours. We want you to expand in 30 minutes, 45 minutes, but that depends on how your lifestyle is. Everybody can't do that every day, so 10-15 minutes is plenty. And when you're working with your client, when you're meditating in their space, you're creating a sacred energy with them. So that becomes very important to meditate in the space with them. Okay, 10-15 minutes, just to create the sacredness. Okay, and I'm almost sure that everybody here knows how to meditate. If not, I am going to put it in the group. Okay, the next tool is silence and solitude. Now, what does that look like?
Oh, yeah.
I want you to see if you can do at least one day, 24 hours of silence. That means phone off, social media off, television off. It's nothing but you and your soul. I don't even want you to have music. Okay? You will find so many messages that have been trying to reach you, or so many conversations from other people. What was I doing yesterday? And I had everything off and I was in the kitchen washing dishes. And who was talking to me? And I was, my sister was talking to me. And I was just, and I was just in this conversation before I realized I was in the conversation. And the reason I realized I was in the conversation because I was pushing back on something that she said. And she was like, I just want you to hear what I'm saying. I'm not asking you to explain nothing. And I was like, oh, what? That you want to create that. You want to create that space for yourself. And it wanted to be in silence and solitude. At some point, I do want to create a retreat for us where we can go and be in each other's space, and do, a nice time of silence and solitude. We used to do 3 days of silence, 3 days of silence, no talking. you know, and if we needed something, we would write it out on paper and we would have a little badge that says, I'm practicing silence today. Okay. So that may be how you create that. It may be a struggle. I remember the first time I had Mecca do it, she had to push me off 3 or 4 times before she could stop her life. She said, I just realized how I have people so dependent on me that I had to just really say, listen, I got to do this. And we do that. We will have people, we'll be so important in other people's lives that we can't even be important to ourselves. Okay. So silence and solitude. The other thing is essential oils. You want to know what essential oils you need for your own well-being. You want to know what essential oils you need for your clients. And you want to have them in your space. You want to have your little bag of tools, right? Your essential oils, your musical tuning forks and all that, whatever it is. You know how they used to have little black bags that the medical doctors used to come to your house with. You're gonna have something like that. You know, it don't have to be black. It can be cute, however you want it to be, but you want to make sure that you have those. I got my frankincense oil, which is one of my favorites. It's a very good protective oil, you know, so you want to know, you know, so do your research around what oils work for you, what you want to use those for, and know what they are, you know, and again, you know, I'll send you some follow-up information on that. And then of course, candles in the space of the people that you're working with. Always remember the safety, right? So I tell people, if you're gonna light candles in other people's space, try to make sure they're in a hurricane, something that has, you know, a glass around them, or they're in a candle holder so nothing can grab a hold and flame. But candles is a reminder to stay in the light. Light means knowledge, awareness, being present, being in the space that you are, instead of sitting there making a list of things you got to do when you're done. That's not being present. Okay, you want to be right there with them. So that's what candles are for. And then EFT, emotional freedom technique. This is primarily for you and anybody who's close to the people who are being released or transitioning, because a lot of people want to go into the grief mode instead of the letting go. An emotional technique, you know, is just really tapping into and releasing those energies from the past that keep us stuck where we are. And when you're doing these releases, you're actually doing a type of affirmation that's allowing you to be a little bit more freer, you know, inside of how you're being and how they're doing, right? So I will put, you know, some other EFT. Listen, EFT has really saved my emotional life on so many levels, because I was taught to be strong and isolated and by myself. And that doesn't get you through life in a joyful way. You know, it don't get you through life in a joyful way. You can get through life, but we're talking about being able to have our own self-expression and then also be able to nurture and take care of other people. Okay, so emotional freedom technique, that's one of your tools. The circadian rhythm. This is so important because, again, we've been taught to work, and not take care of our bodies. The circadian rhythm is about how your body is aligned with the cosmic energy of the universe. When the sun comes up, your body warms up. Your body starts to get in gear. In the afternoon, there's certain things that start to happen based on what's going on in the universe, in the cosmos, right? At night, after the sun goes down, your body starts winding down. It starts trying to go to sleep. It's time to rest. Your digestion almost stops. So if you're eating after 8 o'clock, your body is not ready to heal and nurture. The body actually goes into a healing mode at 11 p.m. And it secretes energy from your pituitary and pineal gland that produces melanin and everything else to make sure that you stay healthy. But if you're not resting, if you're not using rest as a form of healing, and you're only using rest as a form of getting back to work, it's dangerous. Okay? So circadian rhythm, and again, it's going to be in your list, and I want you to study that. And you're gonna look to see, how to use that when you're working with your clients, because you don't want to do a nighttime ritual during the day with your client. You don't want to do a daytime ritual when it's supposed to be a nighttime ritual. Okay? Got it. Spiritual baths. When you finish working with the client, it's important to come home and release whatever energy, because a lot of times there's a lot of depressed energy, there's a lot of anger, the family's anger, whatever. So you come home and you soak, and whatever you can soak in is fine. But when you really want to detox, you want to use Epsom salt, baking soda, and peroxide. And again, I have it, the measurements in the list I'll send you. But you want to do that. And when you do that afterwards, try to wrap yourself in a sheet and get in the bed. No clothes, just get in the bed and go to sleep, because you have opened up so much of your energy that if you go outside after that, it's almost like you get infused with everybody else's. So you want to protect yourself and go to sleep, wrap up and go to sleep. Binaural beats. There are 1,000 of them on YouTube. Be mindful. Read the comments. If you have oracles, if you have tarot, read to see if those are the ones you should be using. Okay? But binaural beats, you can be used for yourself. You can use them for the people that you're working with. Okay? And they come in all different flavors. Bach flower remedy. For you, you may want to have walnut and rescue remedy. If you're going through any type of pain and recovery, you're going to want pine or agrimony. So you may want to give that to your clients, pine and agrimony. But Bach flower only makes 38 flower essences. And I did put the website in your document, and you'll be able to research them, because Bach flower is something that we've been using for well over 30 years for our clients, okay? But what you'll want is walnut, because walnut is good for when you're changing, and it shuts out everybody but your soul. How cool is that, right? Journaling. We've spent enough time on that, but I'm gonna tell you, journaling is the key to inside your heart. It's the key. And there's so much magic in journaling. You'll be surprised how light you become when you allow that to work for you. Breathe to center. All right. And again, go back to your Shir-Hateps, but breathing is where you want to stay, is where you want to go. Anytime you feel triggered, go into your breath. Crystals. And if you don't have crystals on your altar, put them on your altar. But the crystal that you carry with you when you're working with the deceased is going to be rose quartz, tiger's eye, and amethyst. There's some other ones. Your spirit will tell you what you need, okay? But you make sure that you can keep it in your pocket, you can have it as a chain, as a bracelet, however you wear it. It's because, sometimes dark energy does come when people are transitioning. I remember for a long time, I didn't know that I carried a dark deceased energy, and I had to do a ritual. It was my ex-husband. you know, and I had to do a ritual because you know, he was abusive, first of all, you know, and there was when he got killed, there was a part of me that was sad that he had died, but there was another part of me that was like, thank you, you know what I'm saying? It was mixed, you know, and you can't feel thankful when somebody died. Isn't that crazy, right? You can't, that doesn't, you know, so I carried that energy until I learned how to release it, you know, and somebody taught me how to do that. So if anybody has any experience with that, reach out, but that's why you want to carry your crystals. And then sound therapy. You can use the bows, you can use tuning forks. You know, again, this is to actually move the energy around in the space, in your body, you know, all those areas where you want to like just shock the movement in the space, shock the energy in the space. You're going to use your sound, right? The only reason I did not put incense on this list is because when people are transitioning, you don't want to put smoke in the space. Now, if you want to do incense on yourself, that's fine, but you don't want to put that smoke, you know, and that was from my mentor. He was like, no, well, you know, it's kind of like if people are having a hard time breathing and you bring in incense, that triggers something. Okay. All right. Any questions on that? Right. Did everybody get that?
Yeah. I wanted to just add to what you were talking about oils. We had a session Sunday about how oil in your navel
Yeah.
travels to all areas of your body for
Yeah.
healing, time oil or something like that. And the other thing about journaling, I don't know who had a diary growing up, but it's like writing Dear Diary, except you're older, you know, and you could do a random thought, like you could just think about your mom and just start writing like we do in art. When you got to draw, you just put the pen on the paper and you just let your hand move no matter what comes out the pencil. You let it be and you'd be surprised. Same thing with journaling. That's all.
Yes, that's wonderful. You know, here's what I want to offer about when we're working with people who are transitioning. One of the things that we're doing is bringing sacredness to their space and sacredness to the people around them. And we'll talk more about this in session number 3. But what we don't want to do is impede on people's transition, right? You literally have to ask somebody if it's okay to do this. Is it okay if I do this? You know, and even if they're in a coma, they will answer you. I worked with a young man and he wasn't transitioning, but he was in a coma. His mom and I were getting ready to go work out and she texted me and she said, hey, she said, I'm not going to make it because my son was in a car accident and he's in a coma. And immediately I called her and I'm like, well, what hospital was he in? He was in Loyola and I lived in Schaumburg. I said, well, I'm headed your way. So I went to the hospital and my spirit said, get some sesame oil and some peppermint oil. And you rub that baby every day. And that's exactly, so I told her, I said, okay, I said, you go ahead home. I'm going to spend some time with them. So we started switching off. And every time I came with sesame oil and pepper. And I started at his feet. And I would massage and rub and rub and rub his legs and his arms and then my spirit told me to make him a audio tape. This is when you had the cassettes back then, made an audio tape. And I never met this child, but I called him by name and I shared with him it was okay to come back. He was safe. And my spirit had told me he felt unsafe and this, you know, so this was really my first time being downloaded about how to take care of somebody who was recovering, right? He was recovering. And sure enough, when he came out of his coma, he said, "Where's Miss Rita?" You know, because I've been talking and I had the nurse turn this tape over, turn this tape over for him, turn this tape, So, but the sesame oil is something that Deepak Chopra swears by. He swears by, like I swear by coconut oil, Deepak Chopra swears by sesame oil. So a lot of times when you're working with people who are in that state, sesame oil may be one of the better, nut oils to use. Right. Keisha, you getting ready to say something? Ask something?
About the smell of sesame oil. That's interesting because I actually mixed sesame oil, I promise, in my hair product for myself. But the scent is so overwhelming. So I was just going to ask, but I didn't think it was necessary. But I was going to ask about that. Like, what about the scent?
All of it. It's not as powerful as peppermint oil.
Thank you.
Or lavender. I used to use sesame oil, and I would get sesame oil and I would pour a whole bottle of lavender oil in it. And that's what I would use when I got out the shower. While I was still wet, I put that sesame with that lavender on there, and one dude said, "You do voodoo. You walk around here with that smell on you." I was like, I'm taking care of myself. I don't care what you think I'm doing. So it's important to use the natural things, because the fragrance itself, I remember one time while I was working with this young man, Jamal, the spirit told me, take some vanilla today. Use vanilla. So I used some vanilla because those could trigger memories. And don't forget, we're not just talking about current life memories, but they're past life memories too, you guys. When people are in that kind of a comatose state, they're in a different dimension. So there are ways that we can bring them back forward, but that's different. But okay. So what I was saying though, when you're working with people who are transitioning, before you start using oils or anything, ask their permission, because sometimes they want to leave and they want you to release them. Okay, so when you meditate, you'll be able to hear some of that. Any questions on that? No? Yay, great. All right, so I'm going to add that list into your group, into the Death Doula group, so you can see all of it. That is not the all list. There, you'll be adding, you'll be finding new things. And again, we'll have the group to share with, right? So we'll be talking to each other after our 4 sessions. And you'll be learning and sharing with us over time. But this is how you start to put together your tools that you're going to carry. And then always when you're picking up candles, you're going to pick up a lighter. So make sure you have a lighter in your bag. It's nothing like going someplace and being like, ooh, anybody got a lighter? And people are in a state of, And then I remember when Leela's, who was it? Her aunt, Leela's aunt was dying. And I called Dr. Happy, and I think, was I out of town? It was something where I couldn't get to Leela. And I called Dr. Happy and I asked him if he would go, and because Leela was she loved this aunt. She really loved this aunt. So he showed up and he had on white. He told Leela to get white. He put white sheets up on the wall. He brought the aunt into it because the reason he did that, because he said she was in a room next to the kitchen. And so he wanted to block off the noise and the smell from the kitchen. So they put up sheets, and then they lit candles, and they made the most beautiful space for her. And so then they allowed family members to come in. They had a chair that they covered with white sheets. And it just really, and then when people would come in the front door, they would sage them. before they went in the room. And a lot of times Lila said, you know, she had to tell people, we're not doing that here, you know, because they would be bringing up, talking to each other derogatory, not to, but you don't do that in this space, you know. So you're going to do some training and teaching when you're in those spaces, and teaching people how to affirm the person that's leaving and not be in such a critical state. Okay, you know, talking about, you remember when she, no, we ain't doing that. That's not this. Okay. Okay, let me see. Let me see if any questions over here. Yeah, we're closing out. We're closing out, Marlene. But if you got to go, you'll be able to see this. We'll be closing out.
I have a question.
Rainbow agate is good for courage. Thanks, Alanda. Yeah, your mother, that dark energy, that was, oh, we'll have to, I'm telling y'all, we're gonna have to do a session, because just me and Alanda by ourselves, man, that I've had to release so much around my family, and a lot of you probably too. Who said I have a question?
I do. I did.
Yeah.
So on my altar, I also noticed that there's certain things that I just pick up because somebody, I don't know, but I noticed I have been talking about Vertilla all week, and it's funny you brought that up.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, why am I thinking? And that was one of the things I said to my friend, because she has a mother-in-law. And I said, you know, I had someone that didn't like me growing up. I said, I don't know what I did to this lady. I said, for some reason, I've been thinking about her. Like, now you mention it, I've been thinking about her. So I have money on my altar. I don't know why. I picked up $1 because, you know, I always say I never met a tourist that's broke.
Mm-hmm.
They just attract money.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things I said. I put money on there. I was like, okay. I was like, and when I took the $1. I was like, okay, I'm gonna need this, like I'm gonna need this $1. I'm gonna have to bring it back. Do you know? Earlier today, they was like, you gotta put my money back. I'm like, oh. And when you said Vertilla, I was like, oh my God, that was Vertilla. I gotta put her money back. I just heard her say, you gotta put my money back. I'm like,
you gotta
okay.
put her money back. Yes. And that's what I said about grandmama. Grandmama kept her money, baby. She kept.
You gotta. I didn't know it was
for club.
I didn't know it was hers. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I borrowed the $1, and all I heard was, you got to put my money back. Okay, that was Vertilla. All right, thank you.
Okay, very cool. I love that. All right, let's get to your self-love task for this week. Your self-love task will be to continue working with your sacred space and your altar. And I want you to spend a little time in front of your altar. You may want to meditate in front of your altar, light a candle, and just really feel the sacredness of what you've created. You know, 5 or 10 minutes, not even however. If you're looking to touch base with somebody on the other side, make that intention. See if you have something that belongs to them or that reminds you of them. Hold it in your space. Yeah, I want you to communicate with your buddy at least twice, because we won't have class until May 14th. Next weekend is Mother's Day weekend, and I want everybody freed up. Okay, just like I was so glad I did that, because Alanda has a speaking engagement that Saturday. She'd been talking about, I'm not going to be there. And then Carmela has something going on. So there's always these different things so around Mother's Day, and I want you to use that space. But during this 2-week break, there is a series. There are 2 series that I want you to look at on Netflix. One is called Surviving Death. Okay, and you'll know why when you start watching it. And I want you, as you watch it, I want you to take notes. I want you to see any resistance that comes up. You know, so you're sitting there with your journal. I want you to see any resistance. I want you to tell me anything that shows up that you're not comfortable with. All right, so make sure you do that. And then the second one is called Life After Death with Tyler Henry. Okay, Life After Death with Tyler Henry. And do the same thing. I want you to take notes and notice anything that comes up for you. All right. So you're going to keep doing your journal work. Any questions on that? All right, Shalonda, you got something to say to us today? I know you probably sitting there at Ford. You at work?
I am at work. And I am listening. I'm just listening today. I think it's a good class. I did speak with my partner, Carmela. And so, I mean, she and I both are excited about the prospect of this journey.
Okay. And she's okay. Because I didn't get communication from her for today. So do you know why she's not in class?
Well, I do know that she lost her contact lens and her eyes been giving her irritation.
Oh, yes, yes.
I had to get to the doctor today, so she's been trying to get an emergency appointment for that. So
that could be now just losing a contact by itself is just crazy.
Yeah.
That's irritating on top of everything you can't see.
Yeah. Right.
All right. Hey, my BFF. I love seeing you.
You're so funny.
I know.
I love seeing you too.
Yes, yes. All right, guys. Anybody want to have any last statements? That's it for us today. I was trying not to hold us all, because I will, we can talk and I'll place everything. Any last words?
I do want to say this right quick. On the 14th, I may be in Atlanta for Cece's graduation.
Yay!
So,
okay.
Yeah. So I'll see by next week. I'll let you know.
Okay. All right. Cool.
And I just want to say thank you. I truly do appreciate this. One thing that my buddy and I discussed was being given gifts they were given to us at a young age and not really understanding what was happening to us, but acting on those gifts, and giving the freedom at times, yet also being restricted from using those gifts, and then just being in a place where we could actually learn. Like, it's so many things that I do that I don't know has a title or label for them, and I operate just through spirit. So I just want to say thank you, because it's needed, and I think we said that last week how important it is. And if we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it. I'm speak for myself. I gotta do it right, so that way I won't have to carry anything else upon myself, unwanted energy and things like that. A lot of, especially when it comes to journaling, I want to say thank you guys so much, because it is a resistance, right? Because I don't want to deal with the shit, real talk, but I want to say thank you. I'm saying thank you publicly, because I really did not want this, but I appreciate everyone for sharing and giving and pouring into me. You know what I'm saying? Period.
Yes. Wonderful. I actually operate inside of my birth card. I am a Queen of Spades, King of Clubs. I didn't know that growing up. I didn't know that well until my late 40s, that I was operating out of that. So I took so much criticism for knowing and being intuitive. And like you, Keisha, I operated out of my intuition. I did everything that Spirit told me to do. So I wasn't asking permission from anybody around me, and so people would criticize me. Now, I don't care what people say. I've grown to, but I operate inside of that Queen of Spades, that King of Clubs, and that Fire Rooster. So I know that I'm on my mission and I'm doing what I came here to do. And I want to make sure that I feed into you guys to do the same, because you feed a different circle than what I do. I feed you, you get to go feed those around you. And that's what my service is. And then a lot of you feed me just by giving me the audience, just by trusting the space. Can you imagine? I love when my niece and my BFF and Tammy too, they always, what you doing next? you know, and that keeps me moving in the direction of growing and learning and sharing, you know, so all of us are in this together. So thank you, Keisha. Thank you. I received
Yes. Thank you. And I do want to say this. I did learn this week, and it's not just this week, but it came to a head. I had to dissolve an organization that I created in August. And I realized it became very clear with my two of spades, me being a friendship card, that having this friendship card is to bring people together. I am a networker, right? But I learned boundaries. I learned how to be more stern with my boundaries, because I have been like, oh yeah, let's do this, and then things go south, and then I'm mad with myself because I'm also dealing with the rooster.
I was gonna say, Retha, you a fire rooster too.
You know, like I got this rooster thing happening, so I was like,
And roosters are the top.
yes.
Okay, and so you got to balance that, because if you're with we have some strong women around us. So
Yes.
it doesn't work for us to be cocky. We can be
Where y'all getting these roosters from? Where that's coming from?
Chinese
Zodiac.
astrology.
Oh,
That you learned that in your class. That's why
Yeah.
everybody needs to know what is that's what was session 11. Miss Keisha, go back and look. You know, so you want to know, because when you're operating, you're like, oh, that's that, and
Yes.
you don't have to be that, but you have to have it in life in order for us to do what we do. But you don't have to be that all the time.
Oh my gosh. But I wasn't. I actually sat.
No, nigga,
I don't. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Hold on.
You a Gemini too.
I am. Wait, I had a
I can't even imagine.
The Capricorn that was in the space when we were like having our video conference and we was cutting everybody.
Yeah.
She went in on this other guy, on this dude. And I forgot to look up their cards. I didn't have his card. I should look his card up. But when I say she went in, we having a meeting that we letting everybody, like, we're gonna start over.
Yeah.
And she went in and the MF came out. And I was like, this is not what I want to do. And so I was upset with.
Those are unresolved. That's something else.
I know. So I had this conversation with her and I said, we can't take back what you said. I said, because sometimes I am a firm believer that people to get that, whatever happens, there's no such thing, to me, there's no such thing as a mistake or I said, whatever you did with him, that needed to come out. I said, however, I told her after we were done, I said, you gonna to deal with some unresolved issues. I said, we talked about this Saturday. We're not going to talk about this anymore, because what I saw, I said, your mother came out. I said, your mother been trying to help you. And she came out at that moment. She was like, my mother. I said, nah, honey, I was your mama. I said, because the way you pointed your finger and said what you said, that was all your mother. So, and instead of all that, I looked at me like, oh, here I go. I was this little girl again, afraid to say something. And it wasn't I was afraid to say anything. It wasn't that. It was just that I was like, okay, I'm gonna let this happen because I can't control it, and I'm not gonna.
Alonda, can I ask a question? Are you saying you had a group session with people that did not know each other?
Well, no, we have a board. We had created an organization.
These were her board members that were
and
not.
These are board members. These are board members.
This was client work. I'm sorry.
No.
But can you see how important it is to actually know what people's astrology is, to know what their card is, because when your energy is involved in that, you know, you got to know who you're dealing with. And especially now, guys, because we're shifting into total responsibility. You cannot blame anybody else. And so when you're in a leadership position, you're totally responsible for that climate. So I got that, Alanda, and that's a lot to hold. But that's why you do work where you're actually pulling in other energy to support that, because it's not just you. Like you said, her mother is in that space. But if her mother is a dark energy and not know and still using nonviolent communication, it's like, wow. Yeah.
I was frozen. I was like, I can't do nothing with this because this is all her. Because at first I got into my ego, like, well, I can't let her do this. And so and we're like, no, you're going to stay out of this. Like, you're going to let that happen. I was like, well, everybody gonna look at me like I lost control. Like, no, you're gonna let this happen because it's supposed to happen. So I got to see it from a different, I guess, an eagle's view of how all of this.
Overstanding.
Yes, I had to look at this. And so it was like, okay, I'm very clear because before I used to get defensive. I would get defensive about everything that transpired on Monday. I would have been defensive, but at that, I was okay. I was like, oh, I took that actually well. Like I don't feel no way about it. But
Yeah,
so
and now did you journal about that?
yes.
Good. Because again, you in those type of situations, you journal and then you want to get in some water. You want to purify your spirit, your soul, because all of that, you know how you feel when it's just like exasperated when stuff happens, like, oh my God. And a lot of times we'll feel, oh my God, and we'll go turn the TV on and go to bed. But you don't want to take that energy in because you want to use your sleep time as a productive source. You want to be programming, reprogramming, binaural beats, creating what's next, visualizing. You don't want to have that energy from an argument that was somebody else's. You see that? And a lot of times that's what we do. We take in that energy and we let it live. And then we go, we go over and over in our mind what happened and try to figure out what could I have done. And it's in the past.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you a question. Is that where your breathing will help as well? Because that's what I was speaking about earlier about talking to people and not realizing that what I had experienced in that conversation had an effect on me. Is that where breathing
comes in?
Yeah, okay.
No, breathing comes in while you're talking to them. And I had to learn that because my first husband was the type of person I didn't know when he was going to hit me. And we could be having a casual conversation and all of a sudden he didn't bop me in the eye. And so I had to be where I'm talking to him, constantly praying and in my breath, just listening for how to talk to him. I really learned about how to be in the space of men and how to be tactful. As brutal as it was, Capricorns, sometimes we got to take the hard lesson, because we don't learn easy. Plus, I didn't grow up in the space of men, right? But I literally had to stay in my breath so that I could not escalate with him. You see that? Because men don't want you to, them old school men, don't talk back. Can you believe that? Like, talk back. You want to be like, I'm a grown, but you see, it's a difference in how you talk. And it doesn't mean that you don't talk, right? It means, because remember, in the space that some of us are in, we're teaching them instead of being their mother. When we start acting like their mother, that becomes their trigger. And now they want to shut you up because they didn't have a voice growing up.
So squaring up, so I got in the space that I was squaring up with dudes.
Yeah.
Because I saw what was going on in our family. And so I squared up with them.
And that's the danger. That's the danger part of the square up, is that now the man in your family, he does something, now every man in your family is going to be on alert. And they're going to dislike that man because of you. I don't care how she square up. Don't you put your hands on her. And then a lot of times what people go do is they go tell who? Their family. And then
that's what happened. Yes.
Yeah.
That's what happened between
when I'm coaching, when I'm coaching people, I said, do not talk to your family about your relationship. You find you a coach, a mentor, an elder. You don't go and tell everybody what's going on, because you have got to stay objective. When you and your mate get back together, they still hating on them. They don't, and they looking at you, you with this fool, and he did what? He did what?
It took me to witness your sister and Ray to realize after me and him had a fight. I fought him. There's a thing, I fought him, but I did fight him. But witness like a year or so after that thing, how she taunted him. So that took me into a whole nother space with, huh, it ain't always about that. So I didn't even realize at that moment I was learning on relationships of, you don't put your hands on people no matter who you are. So I
Period.
learned without me knowing that I was learning that. I started learning that you still can't do that and then cry to your family that they hitting you because you provoking them. So I started learning it then. So I didn't even realize that I had to, didn't I realize I was learning this until after the fact, because my husband, first husband, he wasn't abusive as in put his hands on me. He was up in here. So
Right.
that was a different type of
And I
squaring
want
up that
y'all
I
to
never knew.
get something clear about this. Y'all gonna witness this in family disputes when you're working with transitions, because that is a lot of what comes in the space are the things that have not been resolved when people are dying. So your coaching skills, your ability to put your energy there and to stay still and to be solid is going to make a big difference. So you don't discount this as a conversation we shouldn't be having. This kind of stuff will show up where you will have to be able to observe and send your energy. And
what did you say about do what with your energy?
you're going to have to be able to observe. In other
And
words,
then you
just
said something
watch
else.
and then send your energy.
Okay.
Like when
Because we're not to involve ourselves with that. That's not what we're there for.
Well, there's some things you may have to, but not in a dispute. But you can send your energy. Like I learned how to do that sitting on CTA, and you see a fight and you can meditate and send energy into the space. Nobody knows you're doing that. That's why today we practice what it means to send love and light. Your energy, you know, the monks sitting up on mountains, that's all they do. They don't be down here dealing with us. They send energy. They just send energy into the space. So you want to be able to do that, and you want to be able to do it pulling from the energy of the universe, pulling that energy into you and grounding yourself on the earth and then sending it out. And you can do that on a regular anytime. And then when you do that, really notice that you made a difference. I want you to really look and see what shift took place so you can see that you're doing that, because they have had several different studies that show that if people meditated in a small group, they can change their whole neighborhood. You know, so this is very important for you guys to get, because this, and we'll do more about what it means to be in a relationship with the dead and the family of the dead and the dying. Okay, very good. All right, and you know, I'm gonna try to see. It may not be this week, but next week before our next session, we'll have just a group talk. You know, just to, you know, I can tell we need to get some stuff off our chest, boy. All right, y'all. Good session today. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday, and happy Mother's Day.
Happy Mother's Day, everybody.
Happy
Thank
Mother's
you.
Day.
Happy
Good to see you
Mother's Day,
guys.
ladies.
All right, guys. Have a great.
Bye.
All right.
All
Have a
right.
great week. 2
You
weeks.
too.
Peace.
All right, I'm gonna call you later.
Okay. All right.
All right.